So ta-da! The mystery tool today is the Kimberbell Pop Rulers. And these are the two sets. You get the square, which is in my left hand right here, and you also get the can choose from the rectangular set. Let me kind of go over a little bit what the differences are and what you get in each set. So, because these are not cheap, the square set is, put my glasses on so I can read it correctly, $49.95. Oh, I know you're going heart failure right there. You have 3 square rulers that measure 4.5 by 4.5, 6.5 by 6.5, and 8.5 by 8.5. And I'll demonstrate how we square up. You also get a bonus ruler that you kind of can see, but it's a little square in here, and it is a half square triangle square ruler. So you can do from 2.5 inch to 4.5 inch half square triangles. You also get the little dots. I don't know if you can see the little dot things in there. I don't want to open this up, but these are to help. They're no slip grippers, and you put those on your ruler. And I will demonstrate this square set today in just a minute, but I just want you to see what you get. I'll open up I have an open package, and I'll talk about some of the features in that in just a minute. This is the rectangle set. So you have 6 rulers in this package, and the rectangle set is $64.99. You get a rectangle that's 4.5 by 6.5, a 6.5 by 8.5, and an 8.5 by 10.5. So they all finish at 4 by 6, 6 by 8, and 8 by 10. Remember that ½ inch is your seam allowance. You also have a flying geese ruler that comes in 2 sizes. You have a tumbler block right here, which is really fun. And then you have a little ruler right here. This is a 3.5 inch ruler, but it has a 1/4 inch guide on it. And there are some wonderful uses for that too. Now let me grab my ruler over here. I thought I had it up and walk around because I want to talk about this part. I've only got the 3 rulers out of the square because I want to show you close up. They pop together, or they nest. I'm going to say they nest, and I'll show you in a minute better how that works. So they would all, you can use, and I'll show you how you use them because it gets really confusing. I'm going to just take this little one out, and hopefully, I don't know how to show you, maybe on my hand. So on the back here, we have the no stick dots already applied, and we've put those in the corners because that seems to help the best. These rulers on the back, you can feel the 1/4 inch grids on these, and they go horizontal and vertical. Also though, I want to point out that, and this is something that in all the videos I watched, nobody said. They just said you're going to center your block, and I'm like, how are they centering their block? And it is kind of a visual, but you do have a little arrow at the center of each one. I don't know, does that help? Okay, take my hand away. You see that little arrow? There is a center point on each side of the ruler. So that's going to be the thing that's going to help you center probably the most. That was what, when I realized that, I went, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense, and this is wonderful. You're also going to notice that this ruler has these extra notches in all 4 corners, and it's on both the square and the rectangle. This is so when you start your cut and end your cut, you're going to get a clean cut, and you're going to make it all the way to the corners, because we cut from the inside on these rulers, not the outside. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit, mostly with these Kimberbell Pop Rulers. They talk about them being used for the Kimberbell embroidery, and that's either sewing or the machine embroidery. You're going to want these rulers if you do a lot of the Kimberbell projects, because she, Kim is really smart about knowing that you start with a larger piece of fabric, because as you embroider, it pulls your fabric in because you're warping your fabric, which is why we stabilize under our machine embroidery. But you also will warp when you're doing hand embroidery. I don't know if you know that, but you do. That's why we hoop in hand embroidery, is because we've got to keep that fabric taut so it doesn't distort so much. You always start with larger and then square down. So it doesn't have to be just a Kimberbell project that you're working on that you would want to do this. I'm going to show you a regular sewing today because when Barb, the owner of the shop, did the Shine On sampler blocks, she used the orange pop rulers to square up her blocks many times. So she did it with the X blocks. Now these are a floating block, and what I mean by floating is you can see we have some extra seam allowance so that when we put whatever goes on top or down the side, there will still be a little bit of white showing. That's supposed to be that way. It floats. It's not, we're not bumping right up to the corners on these. And you want to have a little bit of space. These blocks are made, and I'm going to kind of show you a little bit how to make it today. And then you have to square them up to get this shape because they're made, believe it or not, it's just a regular X block like that. Plus, 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 and now we're going to make it into an X block. So I'm going to show you how you do it. At this point, we've got our plus. It's going to be an X, but it's a plus, and then we have to add some extra pieces. So I'm going to set my sewing. Like I said, I was late today and didn't get everything set. I don't have my 1/4 inch foot, so we're going to move that over today. I'm just moving my needle over. You watch it. And I'm going to get it over. I've got my 1/4 inch line right here, but I like to use the edge of my presser foot. I very seldom use this 1/4 inch. I could keep it center and line up here, but I don't see that, so I'm going to move my needle over to a 1/4 inch. And usually I have a I can use a guide to help me, but I also know what my setting on my machine should be for that. So there we have it set. I'm going to put my needle down feature going. Oh, sorry, I hit the wrong button. I get that mixed up. Needle down is over here. There we go. Drop that needle. I just rethreaded the needle. Didn't have to be. That's ready to go and has me ready. Now, after I have this block constructed this far, the instructions have me fold my block and press, which I did. And I just realized I forgot my pins, but we will be okay. We shall be okay. We shall be okay. I also have my extra pieces, and these are cut according to the pattern. I'm not going to give those dimensions because they are in the pattern. And I'm just going to line up my folds. I have my crease here. I'm going to put this here. Right, you see that crease there? I'm just going to line those up. I had them pre-pressed. I did have enough forethought to do that. And we're going to sew. I'm going to actually, I don't want needle down. Sorry, just kidding. Not my regular sewing right now. Okay, drop my presser foot control. Get this lined up. Get this lined up. I can see I'm just a little off. There we go. There we go. Okay. And I'm just going to sew. And we're going to do this on all 4 sides. And just go a ring around the block, just like this. And this is a place where I do use my automatic scissors. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't think I need that feature. And I'm like, well, how do you know? You've never used it. And until you've used it, and I don't use it all the time, but boy howdy. When I can have the machine do the work for me, I will have the machine do the work for me. So we're just going to go around in a circle and line this up. I always like to hold my needle thread also. For those of you who have these new machines with the bobbin that loads on the top, like this one is, a lot of times you're going to get a little nest under your beginning stitches. And I have found the way to compensate for that is to hold that needle thread, and then I don't get that bunch up right there. So just hold that needle thread for the first like 2 stitches, and then 1, 2, and then just sew. That's why I like my needle down usually, is because when I have to stop and adjust, I don't move anything. Okay, we're all done with that. Now obviously I would say trim, trim, trim. That's why I have my scissors here, but we're just going to walk around to the iron and press this open. Turn to my ironing pressing mat side, get that started. Okay, it's warm. It's warming too. So now I'm just going to remember, when you press, you always want to set your seams. And I have another trick to show you today too. So once you have your seam pressed, you're just going to flip open and open that up and give it a good press right there. And just go around in the circle the way, kind of opposite the way you sewed it. But you can see what one is next because it's the next one on the top. And I'm really not worried about all those threads because we're going to cut them off. Okay, so now I have my block, and this is a funky looking block, as you can tell. But I also wanted to point something out as well. I've used the fabric folding pen by Clover for pressing a lot of things. And then I had a friend, hi Betty if you're watching, tell me she had a fold in her fabric she could not get out. She had tried everything she could think of, and she took her fabric folding pen, and I hope you can see this crease right here. That's from where I pressed this to find the center. I'm just going to take my fabric folding pen right along there, and it's going to take that crease and relax it completely out. I'm going to do it on that side too, where I press that corner. And then I'm not going to have any of those iron marks. I can even take the iron and iron it dry like that. It's gone. See, there is no crease. So that is an amazing use for that fabric folding pen. We're unfolding this time, and I think that's a great thing. Now, a necessary thing, we're going to stay right here and square up this block. A necessary thing when you use these orange pop rulers is a rotating mat. This is my rotating mat. We do sell them, but it looks like we are currently out, so we'll get those put on for ordering, because you need them. You really do need them. So I'm going to lay this down now, and I need to square it. And I know it needs to be 4.5 inches, actually 6.5 inches. But I'm going to start with the 4.5 inch square. And I know that this is not going to be big enough, but it's going to help me get this done. And it's best if you start with the smaller one first, I think, just because it's closer. So now I want to make sure that these triangles, remember that triangle, and I know it's really hard to see. I want to make sure that those triangles are all right where they need to be. And I'm just doing it visually. Now I could take a tool and measure. I could take the 3.5 by 1/4 inch tool that is in the rectangle set and help measure that, but this is close enough. I can do it this way. I'm going to keep my hand right there, and now I'm going to pop the second set on, and I'm going to take this one out. Okay, and now because I want to have extra room for my hands to hold, I'm going to do that. Now you can see I can still line up with my visual, and it's better though that I had it closer, but I think I'm still pretty good. So at this point, remember, you're going to use those triangles, those little points, to help you line up. Here's my second tip. If you are right-handed, you're going to start on the left hand side. So I'm going to start over here. It's kind of like we're always used to being over here, but my blade must be against the edge of the ruler. So if I'm right-handed and I start over here, I'm not against the edge. If I'm left-handed, I would start at the right. But because I'm right-handed, I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to start here in the notch, and I'm going to keep my blade right here and go right to the next edge. And I don't worry, there's no damage to my blade, there's no damage to the ruler doing this. And then I'm just going to cut right up. And I just keep my edge of my rotary cutter right next to the blade. Now again, we're cutting right inside. It's kind of counterintuitive, but that's what you need to do. And voila, I have a perfectly square 6.5-inch block, which is what I need for my Shine On quilt or whatever quilt I'm going to do. This is what you want to do. So, and I'm going to get Sharon on camera. She's not going to be like this. Hi, Sharon. Say hi to everybody. She didn't know I do this. Sharon is one of our new long arm gals. So she is a lovely, lovely lady, and we're having a lot of fun getting to know her. So come on in on Mondays and Fridays and say hi to Sharon. And next time she'll know to go the back way. So anyway, that is how you use the orange pop rulers for things other than Kimberbell, which is, I think it's becoming a good idea for me to add these to my toolkit because they're pretty slick. I have to say, I hadn't used one. I'd been kind of intimidated by them. I do get intimidated by things. Don't let it intimidate you. It's actually pretty easy to use, and there's instructions on the back. Again, there's tutorials. There's this tutorial. And so hopefully this will excite you to have some new tools. I hope you have a great day. I hope you're having fun doing whatever you're creating. Tell us below what you're working on today in your sewing room, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.